Cape Coast High Court has annulled the 2020 parliamentary election results in the Assin North Constituency. 10,000 cedis has also been awarded against the Electoral Commission and 30,000 against Joe Jechi, who currently representing the constituency in Parliament. Now let's go over to our correspondent who's been sitting through proceedings there for the latest. Thomas Khan, I know it's been a busy day in court all day today. Can you just run us through events of the last few minutes before now and the reactions that have come through so far? Hello, Thomas. So we'll be re-establishing contact to our colleague Thomas Khan, who has been sitting through proceedings there. Now the story, if you are just joining us here on Midday Live, is that the Cape Coast High Court has announced the 2020 parliamentary results in the Assin North constituency. The court also awarded 10,000 cedis against the Electoral Commission and a further 30,000 cedis against Joe Jechi. And you will recall Joe Jechi is representing the constituency in Parliament. And during the election for the Speaker, sometime early this year, you recall that there was a controversy about whether or not he was eligible to participate in that vote in the House. And after several minutes of a halt in the voting process, he was allowed to vote, with the Clerk of Parliament at the time maintaining that he was participating in the vote or the election at his own peril, and he will face the consequences thereof. And now we're having the court make that decision, annulling the 2020 parliamentary results of that constituency. What does this mean? We're joined via Zoom by Kingsley Amwakwa-Bwedu. He's a private legal practitioner. Thank you for joining me, Mr. Amwakwa-Bwedu. What exactly does it mean now? Are we bracing ourselves up for a rerun of the elections by the court's ruling?
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me. Obviously, the court is a final arbiter in a matter like this. If you look at the Constitution, it gives the court, Article 99, gives the court the jurisdiction to determine a matter like this. Now, once the court has made a ruling annulling that election in terms of, or with respect to that particular constituency, then the constituency is not represented. And so then there has to be a rerun of the elections. So that's what we're looking at.
So when it comes to rerun of the election, we know that during the election of a speaker early this year, you recall very well that this matter was a bone of contention. The court had said that the MP should not hold himself as a representative of a people, in fact, and should not even participate in the processes leading up to the election of a speaker. But we saw that overruled and he was allowed to vote. Will there be any consequences following this latest decision of the court?
Okay, so what happened during the parliamentary elections was not that it was overruled. The clerk of court said that whatever he does is a nullity. And then his colleague said, if my memory serves me right, his colleague said that he will bear personal consequences for any action he takes. And so that the parliament and the clerk is absolved from whatever that happens there. So I believe that's what happened. And even based on that, he could have been cited for contempt, but that didn't happen. And so even that, he held himself in contempt of court, because the court order was that he was injuncted from presenting himself in parliament, and he sent someone to do that. And so I believe the substance of the matter, at times when you do a case in court, you ignore the preliminary issues, which is whether or not an injunction could be granted or not, and go to the substance of the matter. And I think that's what the applicants or the petitioners focus on, and now they have the court keeping a judgment.
Is there any window for an appeal, for example, in matters like this? Any window for an appeal?
Oh, yes. For any matter may be appealed in court if you think the substance of the what we say in legal parlance, the evidence, the weight of the evidence, the evidence outweighs the judgment of the court. Then you can appeal, or for any other thing that detracts from the omnibus application that we make. You can bring an application in court. Then, if you still want for him to partake in parliamentary matters, then you would need to stay execution of this judgment, because this judgment gave consequential orders, all right? So then you need to stay execution of that. You previously, and quite recently, you could bring a matter in court, in the same court, to stay execution of the order. Now the new position is that you have.
I'm afraid we have just lost Kingsley Amakwa-Boadu there via Zoom, but the point had been made. He says there's a window for an appeal by the NDC in this particular matter. Let's bring you some reactions now from the legal representatives of the NDC in this matter. Sami Jemfi is the communications officer of the party. Sami, I know that this matter has reached you as a member of a legal team of this particular matter in terms of your representative in the Assin North area. How do you react to this? Before we get through to Sami Jemfi, the NPP has been reacting to this.
Today, and what has been the court's decision?
Okay, thank you very much. Today is another victory for rule of law. This is a petition that was filed by our own friend Michael Ahanka Nimfa, Ankuma Nimfa. And today the court, after almost 6 months, has upheld our position and the petitioner's position for that matter. The court today has said that the election of Honorable Assin was in contravention of Article 94(2) of the Constitution, and then also Section 92A of the Representation of People's Act, PNDC Law 284, and that the election of Honorable Assin is illegal, void, and of no effect. We have repeatedly said that Honorable Assin, at the time that he was filing his nomination to contest as an MP, was a Canadian and also a Ghanaian. Indeed, the nominations were opened by the Electoral Commission from 5th to 9th of October. Documentary evidence showed that Mr. or Honorable Assin had received his certificate of renunciation way after he had filed his nomination, and then also swore a statutory declaration that indeed at the time he held only an allegiance to Ghana. Today the court has said again
for the NPP in this particular matter. They were hoping to be joined on the line by Sami Jemfi. He's a communications officer of the NDC. Sami, if you can hear me, what is the way forward for your party from here?
The way forward is simple. We, as a law-abiding party and Member of Parliament for Assin North, Honorable Kwachi Assin, are determined to use the laws of this country to ensure that justice is done in this matter. So our only hope lies in the laws of this country, and that is what we will resort to under the circumstances. As I speak to you, our lawyers are still within the precincts of the Cape Coast High Court. We are trying to get a copy, a certified copy of the judgment that was delivered by the judge on the matter earlier this morning. Once we get that, I'm informed by the lawyers that a stay of execution will be filed in the Court of Appeal in accordance with law, and all other things necessary to ensure that this judgment, which in our view is a grave or gross miscarriage of justice, is arrested, will be done immediately. So that's what I can say. That's the way forward for us in the NDC and our Member of Parliament.
Thank you very much. Sami Jemfi is the communications officer of the NDC they're speaking to. As he says, they're going to file a stay of execution of this particular matter in the Court of Appeal so they can proceed with the other legal processes. Do stay with us.